I grew up in a very Christian home. We always had traditional Christian values. And so, went away to college, got married. I'm totally expected to be married for life. My previous husband and I, Eric, were married for 20 years. Things were great for 17, 18 years. And then he started to make a shift in his life. Started listening to lots of rock and roll, which at first didn't seem like a problem. It's music, right? But then all of a sudden, everything that we held dear in our family changed. When you're married 20 years, and then all of a sudden, your husband completely changes his lifestyle to the point that he becomes completely obsessed with rock bands. His big band is Kiss, but like going on cruises after cruise to personally meet the singers. He's met all 4 of the lead singers of Kiss and has their signatures tattooed all over his body at this point. He was a teacher. He left teaching, decided that he didn't want to do that anymore, and then just one day just told me, I don't feel it anymore. My thought was, what does feeling have to do with it? This was a promise. We have 2 girls in this situation. The anxiety, the depression hit like huge. And I realized we really were done. I felt like my husband abandoned us. I felt like he left the girls. I felt like everything that I held tight was gone. Like, this was our life, and this is what it looked like, and now all of a sudden, literally, it changed in the blink of an eye. And then I felt like I was kind of, for a while, grieving what I thought my family would look like. Some of the things that really were difficult for me was the guilt and the shame, and the embarrassment. The whole, what are people gonna think? In my mind, I thought I could control the situation. Like, I intentionally tried to isolate myself from others. And the more I tried to isolate myself, the worse I got, like physically, financially, emotionally. I was a hot mess. And it wasn't just things were different with me, but the whole family dynamic was different. Everything was crashing. And then at that point, you hide, and you can't hide anymore. There's nowhere to hide. And then I think the hard part was I had so many people say, why didn't you ask for help? Why didn't you, reach out? And just that whole, sometimes when you think, number 1, you can't hide, people know anyway. Number 2, they know and they want to help. I was received with love and open arms and grace. And that's God. And then shortly thereafterwards, bought a house here in town, tried to get things back on track. And then my brother passed away. My brother is amazing. My brother's with the Lord. And that was that moment that I knew Jeff was going to be okay. But am I going to be okay? Are my girls going to be okay? And that was when it kind of, that wake-up call, that you're like, I got to get this right. And then I can't get it right. I'm like, help me. And in the middle of all that, crazy thing is, I met Joe at my brother's Celebration of Life service. That's how we met. What I had planned for my life didn't pan out the way I thought it had. But God's plans are better and bigger than ours. And even though I had isolated myself, even though I had kind of gone my own way, God called me back, and He was sending people to my path. And, when I was just thinking it couldn't get worse after losing my brother, I met Joe. The whole healing process and restoration, I feel like I'm better now than I was before. You're still seeing tears, but I think part of that isn't because of the sadness of what I've gone through. It's because of the gratefulness that He brought me from where I was. He met me in that horrific spot. And the song, I thank God He picked me up and turned me around. But I will tell you, before He turned me around, He helped me. He picked me up. And then He turned me around. The best part is that we serve a God who loves us unconditionally. So going back to that whole promise that I was promised, to death do us part, I started to realize in this life, promises don't always stay true. But the reality is that God always is. He's always faithful. He's always been faithful in the past, and He's always faithful now, and He's faithful in the future. He never will leave us or forsake us.